Coming up on 5 Minute News. Biden to break silence and call out Trump for January 6 attack. The insurrection 1 year on, but Republicans have selective memory. And Merrick Garland vows accountability for anyone responsible at whatever level. It's Thursday, January 6. I'm Anthony Davis. Precisely 1 year since the political coup, President Joe Biden will tell Americans that his predecessor, Donald Trump, carries singular responsibility for the deadly January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will speak this morning at the U.S. Capitol 1 year after Trump supporters raided the complex in a failed attempt to stop the certification of the Electoral College votes that delivered Biden's election victory. Biden and his top aides have been reluctant to talk directly about Trump since the former senator took office last January, even as the Republican former president continued to spread lies about his election loss, and Democrats, historians, and civil rights activists have grown increasingly concerned about the future of the nearly 250-year-old representative democracy. Biden will lay out the significance of what happened in the Capitol and the singular responsibility Donald Trump has for the chaos and carnage, and will forcibly push back on the lies spread by the former president in an attempt to mislead the American people and his own supporters, as well as distract from his role in what happened. Trump cancelled a news conference at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida that had been scheduled for this evening, blaming what he called the bias and dishonesty of the House of Representatives probe of the attacks and the news media. 4 people died on the day of the riot, and 1 Capitol police officer died the day after defending Congress. Dozens of police officers were injured during the multi-hour onslaught by Trump supporters, during which the former president watched the events unfold on television at the White House. It seemed hard not to see the January 6 riot for what it was, the violent storming of the Capitol by Donald Trump supporters bent on upending the election of Joe Biden. Democracy under siege, live-streamed in real time. Yet a year later, there is far from national consensus on what happened. A Quinnipiac poll found that 93% of Democrats considered it an attack on the government, but only 29% of Republicans agreed. A poll by the Associated Press and Nork Center for Public Affairs Research found that only about 4 in 10 Republicans recall the attack, in which 5 people died, as violent, while 9 out of 10 Democrats do. Such a disparity in memory may be inevitable in our hyper-polarized politics, but it's striking given the stark clarity of January 6 at the time and in its immediate aftermath. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said then that the president bears responsibility for the attacks. Senator Mitch McConnell, then the majority leader, said they tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed. But since that day, separate versions, one factual, one false, have taken hold. The violent culmination of an organized coup to delegitimize the 2020 election and block its certification has morphed into partisan blindness, with Trump and his surrogates attempting to rewrite history and Democrats rushing to protect future elections. Republican Representative Andrew S. Clyde has described the siege as like a normal tourist visit. Representative Matt Gaetz has claimed the rioters were leftist militants masquerading as Trump supporters. Trump has continued to insist that the election that Biden won by a wide margin with scant evidence of fraud was the real insurrection. To counter such misrepresentations, documentary projects have tried to capture January 6 in rigorous, methodical detail. Jamie Roberts' HBO documentary 4 Hours at the Capitol was motivated in part to firmly establish a visual chronology of that day, with the rampage following Trump's incitement to his followers to fight like hell. Many Trump supporters have adopted the former president's denial over the 2020 election. In the last year, Republicans have passed dozens of laws in 19 states to restrict voting. More election battles loom in the 2022 midterms and beyond, creating an opportunity for the GOP to shut down the January 6 investigation and whitewash the insurrection from the history books if they return to power. US Attorney General Merrick Garland on Wednesday vowed to hold accountable anyone who was responsible for last year's insurrection at the US Capitol, whether they were physically there or not. In a speech to Justice Department employees, Garland said prosecutors remained committed to holding all January 6th perpetrators at any level accountable under law. His remarks come as the Justice Department has faced increased pressure from some Democrats to focus more on actions that may have inspired the thousands of pro-Trump rioters to storm the building. "We will follow the facts wherever they lead," Garland said in his speech. "The actions we have taken thus far will not be our last." The investigation into the attack on the Capitol is the largest in the Justice Department's history. So far, more than 700 people have been arrested, and 350 others are still being sought by the FBI, including 250 of whom are accused of assaulting police officers. Many of the insurrectionists have also been charged with conspiracy to obstruct a congressional proceeding, a charge that could be levied at the former president if he is indicted. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.